Well, I'm actually usually a little nervous about these returns because there's always some risk that something could go wrong. But thanks to the excellent work of the SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home. And so congratulations to the SpaceX NASA teams on excellent work, and a huge note of appreciation to President Trump for prioritizing and expediting their return.
You have been the chief engineer of SpaceX and remain the chief engineer of SpaceX. It is the first private company to ever make it to orbit. Walk us through the beginnings of that. It is not...
Well, it's quite a long story, and there are some books that have been written about it. But in the beginning, we didn't actually know anything about rockets. So our first 3 missions failed, actually, of our Falcon 1 rocket. And we almost ran out of money and just barely made it with the 4th launch. If the 4th launch of Falcon 1 had not succeeded, we would have failed as a company. So we just barely made it. So I have to say that I was not a very good chief engineer in the beginning, but I did learn over time. And I think we've gotten, at this point, to where the vehicle is very reliable, and we are going to be able to take astronauts to Mars. In fact, we want to take anyone who goes to Mars and ultimately build a self-sustaining civilization on Mars. That is the long-term goal of the company. Make life multiplanetary.
I mean, that is...
20 to 30 years.
Mm-hmm. So really, in our lifetime,
I should say,
if God blesses me with a longer life than I deserve, right? This question, if I may. And it's, you know, every aspect of this rescue had challenges and danger. The launch, we start there. Then the rocket landing. I mean, we showed, I couldn't believe you were able to land the rocket that fell off perfectly where you wanted it to land. The docking video when they actually connected and got onto the space station. Then the taking off earlier today was a 17-hour trip leading to the splashdown that all of America watched today. Every single aspect of that.
On the ascent phase, there's always some chance that either the first or second stage will blow up. In fact, I find it's actually remarkable when you see a rocket. I mean, when I see the rocket, I see a list of all the things that are wrong, all of the ways that it could go wrong and potentially fail. So you could have a first stage failure, a second stage failure, a stage separation failure. The Dragon could fail to separate from the rocket. The trunk could fail to separate from Dragon. There could be a sort of an engine failure on the spacecraft itself. When it's coming back, it's coming in so fast, it's a blazing meteor. And if anything happens to the heat shield, the whole craft is going to disintegrate. So it's remarkable that humans can actually go all the way to orbit and come back from orbit, given the immense amounts of energy that is required to get to orbit and the amount of energy that must be dissipated upon return. And then the parachutes have to open. That all has to work. Now, long term, we are going to be doing, not long term, this year, in fact, we are launching the Starship rocket, which I recommend maybe doing a piece on, because that is truly a revolutionary rocket. Starship is the first rocket that has the potential to make life multiplanetary, to make us a multi-planet civilization for the first time in the history of Earth. And that's truly profound. Yeah, perhaps we should do a longer segment, because I'd be happy to explain it in detail. I'll do the 2-minute version here.
Yeah, okay.
The Falcon 9 rocket takes off with 1.7 million pounds of thrust. So you can imagine something that has enough thrust to lift an office building off its foundations. And it gets to orbit. It gets to roughly 17,000 miles an hour in 9 minutes. So from 0 to 17,000 miles an hour in 9 minutes. And then it's just, when it comes back, you've got that heat shield that's got to dissipate that energy. Like I said, you're coming in like a blazing meteor, and hardly anything can survive that heat. And if the heat shield fails, you just get vaporized immediately. So it's we're really testing the very edge of human ability here, the very edge of material science, and it's kind of amazing that humans can do this at all. Hopefully this gives, hopefully for people out there, this is a moment of optimism about the future, a moment of excitement about the future, and it portends great things for America and humanity in space.
I'm only going to ask you one political question, just for clarification purposes only. I don't think this should really be a political night. I think this is,
Right.
a moment where the country should celebrate the fact that you were able to rescue them, that it happened successfully in spite of the difficulty, the challenges, and the danger. But I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts. I'm only going to ask you one political question, just for clarification purposes only. I don't think this should really be a political night. I think this is,
Right.
A moment where the country should celebrate the fact that you were able to rescue them, that it happened successfully in spite of the difficulty, the challenges, and the danger. But I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered to send this rocket to space to rescue these astronauts. I'm only going to ask you one political question, just for clarification purposes only. I don't think this should really be a political night. I think this is,
Right.
A moment where the country should celebrate the fact that you were able to rescue them, that it happened successfully in spite of the difficulty, the challenges, and the danger. But I just want to clarify on the issue of whether or not you had offered not sooner to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I heard somebody earlier today say, in fact, that didn't happen when I believe it did.
No, we definitely offered to return the astronauts earlier. There's no question about that. The astronauts were only supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for almost 10 months. So obviously that doesn't make any sense. SpaceX could have brought the astronauts back after a few months at most. And we made that offer to the Biden administration. It was rejected for political reasons, and that's just a fact.
Yeah. I followed this from the very beginning. Did America and the world make a mistake by slowing down, going to the moon and to other planets? Was that a mistake on our part? I mean, don't we have so many scientific and innovative breakthroughs every time we go?
Well, I think we'll have tremendous breakthroughs when we establish a city or a base and then a city on Mars, because we'll have to overcome so many challenges that it'll serve as a forcing function for the development of new technologies that will have tremendous benefits to people on Earth.
Let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the health issues that the astronauts will face. They only trained for an 8-day mission, but there are certainly things involved with returning to gravity, adjusting to gravity, nauseousness, but then it gets a little bit more serious, a variety of other health problems. Bones become about 1% less dense for every month that they are in space. That could lead to issues like osteoporosis or bone fracture, et cetera. Astronauts grow in space because the spinal column expands. There was one astronaut, Scott Kelly, he became 2 inches taller, and others then, when it contracts when you come back, then they have some back issues. They have vision issues because fluids in the eye shift upward to the head. You can explain baby feet if you want. They will have some significant health issues that they're going to be facing, but they'll be okay.
Yeah, the normal amount of time that astronauts are supposed to be in zero-G is about 3 months, and then really, at the most, about 6 months. That's sort of the normal rotation, and they were up there for almost 10 months. So that's really going beyond what is healthy or good. So it's a good thing that, thanks to the support of President Trump, we're able to bring them back, because really things get just a lot worse if they stay in zero-G for, past a year or more.
71 days in space alongside NASA astronaut Nick Hague.
Looks like we're getting some cheers and clapping on board as Alexander is slid down the little ramp and placed into the mobility aid. Once again, big smile.
Now, the two crew members remaining in Dragon are NASA astronauts Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore. They completed 286 days in space.
One of the remaining footrests being removed from the Dragon spacecraft. As I said before, we generally try to have the crew members that are located in the two center seats aboard Dragon, and we like to have them egress first if possible, as it creates a little bit more movable working room inside the spacecraft. There is a recovery crew member inside that is helping all of our Crew 9 crew egress or exit from the spacecraft.
We're waiting for Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore after 286 days in space. You have to give credit to Elon Musk and SpaceX. Elon, by the way, as you can see on the screen, is going to be on Sean Hannity's show tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and go over this. He did offer to put this effort into place. It was talked about, as I mentioned, in the joint address to Congress. Homer, this is a big deal as these next astronauts come out.
Just 5 years ago.
Brett, for sure, never bet against Elon Musk. I've known Elon for over 20 years, and he always comes through on the end. Where, as he says, at least it's going to be entertaining. But I talked to Chris Zembrowski today, who flew aboard the Inspiration 4, which was a Dragon spacecraft. He was not a professional astronaut. He said that capsule was very, very friendly to him. By the way, I'm not only a writer, but also a publisher, and we're going to be publishing Chris's memoir to be called The Accidental Astronaut, coming out this fall. So it's a very exciting time. This is the golden age of space flight. We're going back to the moon.
Let's listen in.
Big smile, big waves. She, like her other crew members, now will be assisted onto the mobility aid.
There we have it, some waves, some thumbs up, and some smiles.
Definitely seems to be a theme among all recovery operations.
Absolutely. And of course, that leaves NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore inside Dragon in seat 4. We're getting some views of him now as he egresses or exits the spacecraft.
Once again, some elation and cheers there from Butch Wilmore as we.
And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And if you want to support our channel and if you want to be up to date, you can become an exclusive member, so click on our perks through the link in the description below. Thanks to watching and see you next time.